movie review for you, and this is the epic Hollywood film El Cid, released in 1961. It's one of the greatest epic films ever made. That's what Martin Scorsese said, and it's the story of Rodrigo Diaz, El Cid, played by Charlton Heston, a Castilian knight in around about 1060, who fought for Spain to keep his country from the invasion of the North African Moors. Historically, the movie is, well, it's generally true, the portrayal in the film, but there are a few slight alterations that Hollywood made. One crucial one is that Cid in real life was a paid mercenary who was well equipped to work for either side, Christian or Muslim, for his personal benefit. Although he did become a talismanic figure, and he was devoted to his family. He was a magnificent warrior, and he was merciful to his opponents. And this comes out vividly in the film after he manages to free a Spanish village town from the carnage of the Muslims within Spain, who are in legion with the Muslim leader played by Herbert Lom and Ben Yusuf, and the prisoners are then expected to be hung from the gallows, but Cid decides to pardon them, and at that point the leader of this Muslim group, who is himself a king, delivers a speech and gives him a new name, which was El Cid. And this Muslim fights alongside Rodrigo latterly when they are faced with the huge army from North Africa and led by Ben Yusuf. The situation when he enables those Muslims to survive provokes outrage from the Count Ordonez, who reports to King Ferdinand the decision made by Cid, and he is accused of treason. As Rodrigo wakes in the wings, so to speak, when they discuss, the king receives the information from the Count Ordonez, it then becomes evident that Rodrigo is viewed as guilty, and his father, El Cid's father, played by Michael Hordern, springs to his defence, and then he is ridiculed by Count Gormaz in front of the whole auditorium as such, and this becomes evident to El Cid. Now, the Count Gormaz just happens to be the father of El Cid's romantic interest, Jemina, excellently played by Sophia Loren. So as the Count moves away from the main hall, he's confronted by Rodrigo, and they have a sword fight, and what then takes place is that El Cid gets the better of the fight and kills Gomez. Now, Gomez just happens to be the champion swordsman who's got particular responsibilities of being the king's bodyguard. This then places Cid in the centre of a decision based on the fact that there appears to be some dissent within Spain as to Ferdinand's right to rule, and Cid is placed in the position of being replacing the Count as the sword bearer for the king, and also has to go forth into leading the king's army into a battle against the marauding Spanish who are defecting from the situation. Also, in addition to that, the fact that El Cid has murdered the father of his love, she then typically shows her solidarity to her father and basically says that her romance with Cid is finished and that she wants him dead. And this situation, the romance and then the tragedy of the death and the change in the feeling by Jemina, this becomes a central part of the film, alongside Cid's as leader of the king army. It also becomes the centerpiece of the battles, which are absolutely awesome. What further creates problems is that shortly after the king passes away, and his two sons then begin a further battle as to who should succeed him. John Fraser plays Prince Alfonso and Gary Raymond plays Prince Sancho, and there's a lot of discussion and threats by both against each other, and in fact Alfonso employs mercenary to actually kill his brother, and that actually takes place even though Cid tries to intervene to prevent the killing, but he fails and Sancho dies. Now, Alfonso has got the support of his sister, Princess Arica, who's played by Genevieve Page, and so they assume the kingship of that part of Spain. But of course, there's still the problem of the Moors, the Muslims, and we then follow Cid after he's banished by the king because he doesn't trust the new king, and Jemina flees with him and joins him, and then he starts to rise again with his own army, although he's still loyal to the Spanish cause, because the king has basically poo-pooed the idea that his Cid's Muslim friend Al-Qadir, played by Frank Thring, should be in the army to defend against the Moors' North African army. He then equips his own followers, including Al-Qadir, and they, of course, go about a ruthless battle to liberate Valencia, which is greeted with considerable pleasure by the king, although he's reluctant this is King Alfonso, is reluctant to give credit to Cid, and still feels shamed by how Cid ridiculed his coronation in asking him to swear allegiance to the fact that he hadn't killed his brother, which of course he had. So, as you can imagine, there's a lot of complex plots evolving in this movie, and we then move towards the climax, because it's a 3-hour plus movie, when Cid's army, joined by the king at a very late stage, basically sets about the task of defeating the Moors' army that's led by Herbert Long, who plays Ben Yusuf. So the plot aside, which it keeps you on your toes, so to speak, the acting, well, it's a little bit chiseled, I would call it, two-dimensional. It's a bit too superlative at times. The script holds a lot to be desired, certainly in some of the scenes involving Heston and Lorraine. The language used is romanticism to the extreme, and also the behaviour of the significant members of the aristocracy also leave a little bit to be desired. I saw this film when I was a young boy, and I always recall the scene where Cid, on his white stallion, ran down the beach area and was viewed in the context of the castle in Valencia, that at that particular time was held by the Muslims, and that image of the hero stood in my mind. There was, of course, a further aspect to the plot that leads us to the conclusion, and I won't spoil that for you. I suggest you give it a watch. It is a 3-hour plus movie. Of course, Sophia Loren is absolutely beautiful throughout, so that certainly helps keep you awake. And Heston is used to playing these heroes. Remember him in Ben-Hur, and so he is well cast as Rodrigo de Vivar, El Cid. So that's about it. That's my review of El Cid. Get to watch it.